Now what we can see is the institutions are changing. So we went from retail to institutional. We can see that there's $85 billion flowing into the market right now. This is the institutional money. So for example, BlackRock has the largest Bitcoin ETF. In just the last 14 days alone, $4 billion has come in just to Bitcoin, $4 billion. We have $85 billion that have come into Bitcoin, just Bitcoin, year to date. We can see this is pension funds that have billions of dollars of allocations. This is sovereign wealth funds. These are nations that are bringing money in. We have giant corporations that are bringing money in. We have all these ETFs like the BlackRock ETFs coming in, and they're all bringing money into Bitcoin. So what we're seeing is a complete explosion of performance. These Bitcoin derivative companies, these Bitcoin Treasury Strategy companies are completely crushing traditional markets. Altcoin markets, traditional markets, and even Bitcoin itself.
Mark zooms out to look at Bitcoin over the last 5 years. The number is staggering. Bitcoin has increased by 1,554% since 2018. Through immense volatility, ups and downs, market crashes, and parabolic surges, one thing remains clear: the long-term trend is unmistakably upward. Bitcoin, as a store of value and investment asset, has shown resilience and performance that outshines virtually all traditional markets. But that's just the baseline.
Please take a little time to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications for more videos like this. You can also check out our other videos on cryptocurrencies and the overall digital asset space and drop your comments and observations in the comments section below. Everything you do helps with the YouTube algorithm and immensely contributes to the channel's growth. Thanks and enjoy the video.
Let's zoom out, and let's zoom out about 5 years, okay? We're gonna use this time frame. During the last 5 years, this is a chart of Bitcoin priced in US dollars. It's up 1,554%. So if you would have bought it here in 2018 and held it this whole time, you would have made 1,554%. And of course, it went up and down and up and down, way up and down, way up and down, up and down, and it's a volatile ride, but it's obviously, as you can see, it's trended up, okay? Let's establish that first. Now, what are we talking about? Well, we're talking about, let's look at some of the other things. Now, the king of alts, the one that everybody's watching right now for alt season. If Ethereum moves, then alt season is back. We can see from its previous all-time high right here, it's currently down 49%, about half of what it was at its previous. Of course, Bitcoin is making new all-time highs continually, and here Ethereum is down 50%, 49% priced in US dollars. Understand that, okay? We're gonna come back to that. Priced in US dollars. Now let's take a look at another chart. If we look at Ethereum, not priced in US dollars, but instead priced in Bitcoin, we see something completely different. Okay, this is where you have to have an open mind. If we look at Ethereum priced in Bitcoin, it's a completely different chart. We can see that Ethereum made a new all-time high here priced in Bitcoin back in 2018. And we can see that it's never reclaimed its all-time high. As a matter of fact, it's pretty much just continued a downward trend, and it's down 84% from its all-time high made in 2018. That's why we looked at that period, okay? What this tells us is it's sort of like a pump and then a dump. It never is able to reclaim back its previous all-time high, okay? This is the king of alts. This is what everybody's waiting for this to move so everything else moves. Now, what we can see is the institutions are changing. So we went from retail to institutional. We can see that there's $85 billion flowing into the market right now. This is the institutional money. So for example, BlackRock has the largest Bitcoin ETF. In just the last 14 days alone, $4 billion has come in just to Bitcoin. $4 billion. We have $85 billion that have come into Bitcoin, just Bitcoin, year to date. We can see this is pension funds that have billions of dollars of allocations. This is sovereign wealth funds. These are nations that are bringing money in. We have giant corporations that are bringing money in. We have all these ETFs like the BlackRock ETFs coming in, and they're all bringing money into Bitcoin. Why is that? Well, they want to deploy billions of dollars. And there's only really one asset that's going to be able to hold billions of dollars. For example, if you look at the entire cryptocurrency market cap, there's about 16 million of them listed on CoinMarketCap today. In the top 10, there's only a few of them that trade more than $1 billion per day. So if you want to deploy $1 billion, how do you do that? You can't deploy $1 billion into Shiba Inu or whatever it is. So we have BlackRock here, $4 billion in just 10 days they're trying to deploy in. We can see right here, $85 billion, doubling the amount of money they're putting in per year. We can see right here, they're pushing the cumulative inflows into Bitcoin to $44.3 billion. And again, the top 10 cryptocurrencies can't even accept that type of money, much less the other, whatever, 15, 16 million that there are. So we understand that the market has changed. We went from retail to now sovereign. So what we're seeing is a complete explosion of performance. These Bitcoin derivative companies, these Bitcoin Treasury Strategy companies are completely crushing traditional markets. Altcoin markets, traditional markets, and even Bitcoin itself. Let's take a look at this. So if we look at the NASDAQ, this is not since 2018, this is just the NASDAQ year to date. What we can see is that the NASDAQ is basically flat. We had a big dip, Donald Trump's tariff scared the market, and now we're basically flat. So the NASDAQ hasn't really made any money. TradFi, we can look again, here's the S&P 500, same thing. Here's the beginning of the year, we had the big tariff scare, we're back to about even. We've made no money in NASDAQ, we've made no money in the S&P 500. Let's look at Ethereum. Not since its all-time high, let's just look at it in the same period year to date. So since January of this year, we're down 32%. When alt season, right? We can look at another one. We can see here, this is a Bitcoin Treasury Strategy company, okay? Not priced in US dollars, but priced in Bitcoin. We can see this is up 1,337% in the same period. This is what we're talking about. We're talking about crazy returns. Here's another one. You've heard me talk about this one before, Matador. It's a little company out of Canada. We can see this one's up 337% in the same time period against Bitcoin. We're talking about real money. We're talking about real big moves. Public companies, public disclosure companies with real revenues.
Mark calls it a revolution, a Bitcoin Treasury Strategy Revolution. The playbook is simple yet powerful. Companies raise capital through equity or debt, convert it into Bitcoin, and then enjoy both the price appreciation of BTC and the amplified return that comes from being a publicly traded company with BTC as a core asset. This is how MicroStrategy beat Bitcoin. This is how Metaplanet and Matador are crushing traditional markets. And this is why institutional capital is bypassing altcoins and funneling into these high-performance Bitcoin proxies.
Now, the new asset class that's popped up is the MicroStrategy blueprint. All right, this is changing everything. It's the most exciting part of the market right now. So MicroStrategy was a company, it was a software company by Michael Saylor. I've talked about them many times. Of course, you know about them by now. But what they did is they started a Bitcoin strategy, and they went and changed their name from MicroStrategy to Strategy. And now they're teaching that same strategy to all the other companies. Now, they have grown their Bitcoin holdings. Right here it says 576,000. As a matter of fact, now it's over 580,000. It's going up so fast we can't even keep up. 580,000 Bitcoin as of May 26th, and they continue to raise billions of dollars to continue to put into more Bitcoin. And now they're taking that strategy and teaching all the other companies how to do that. Now, what's interesting about MicroStrategy doing this is it's beating Bitcoin itself. So we looked at the altcoins, Ethereum, XRP, the giants, and how they're actually losing money to Bitcoin. MicroStrategy, not priced in US dollars, but priced in Bitcoin, is actually up 278% since it adopted its Bitcoin Treasury Strategy. It's up almost 3 times over Bitcoin. And Bitcoin's up, what do we say, 1,500%. So it's up above that. So the key insight is that they're not just buying Bitcoin. What they're doing is they became a Bitcoin company. They learned how to leverage the debt and equity markets to lever up the Bitcoin, which is why they get that additional yield. And there's a lot of companies doing this now. We can see that another company right here, a company called Metaplanet, has now followed their lead, and they're getting even better results. As a matter of fact, Metaplanet, when priced in Bitcoin, not US dollars, is beating Bitcoin by 677%. Above Bitcoin. That's like what cryptocurrency used to do. That's what Ethereum and XRP used to do, but now it's happening to Bitcoin publicly traded companies. Okay, why publicly traded companies? It's because institutional companies need real institutional plays. What we can see is this is mining companies are doing this, tech companies are doing this, service providing companies are doing this, startups are doing this, and this is really creating what we're calling a Bitcoin Treasury Strategy Revolution. All right, now, I sort of call these like Bitcoin derivatives because I'm not buying Bitcoin directly, I'm buying a derivative of Bitcoin. I'm buying a public company that's a proxy that's supported by Bitcoin, okay? But they are real companies registered with the SEC, listed on the NASDAQ, with real revenue and with real returns. All right. So these companies are publicly traded. They're built on the Bitcoin ecosystem. They're building either on and around the Bitcoin ecosystem. They're holding Bitcoin as their treasury asset, meaning they're trying to beat Bitcoin specifically. And these are ones that have strategic focus. Now, the critical distinction is, again, these aren't crypto projects. These are publicly listed NASDAQ plays. All right, now the reason why is because institutions, if you're a sovereign wealth fund or you're a pension fund, you happen to need audited financials, you need public trading, you need real revenues, you need the company to follow regulatory compliance. And so if you're going to deploy billions of dollars, they must follow these things. They must be real companies, and that's why we're seeing that. With cryptocurrency, what we had was white papers from who knows who. Now we have public company disclosures. We used to have no revenue. Now we have audited financials and real revenue. Again, we have real companies doing real things. So where is this going? Well, we can see the migration is happening. All right? We can understand there's different phases to the cycle. We can see the institutions are here to play. But how big are these institutions? And how much money will they bring? Well, we don't know exactly, but we can sort of take a look. So the first thing we can look at is these public companies, for example. They have to file and they have to project out what they're expecting to do. So we can look at some of the big ones like MicroStrategy or Metaplanet or Semler Scientific or Nakamoto or CEP, and we can see what they've announced as far as how much money they've raised and how much money they expect to deploy.
Mark Moss's latest video delivers a powerful and clear message. Bitcoin is no longer a fringe asset or a speculative play. It is the center of a new institutional-grade financial ecosystem. And the biggest opportunities aren't hiding in meme coins or the next altcoin narrative. They're in publicly traded Bitcoin Treasury Strategy companies that are delivering real outsized returns with transparency and credibility. This isn't just about crypto anymore. This is about the remaking of capital markets themselves. Please like and subscribe.